Welcome back. We're now going to look at the third element for patenting. This involves the requirement that a patent or that the patented subject matter must involve an inventive step. This answers the question, is the invention inventive? Inventive step is defined by section 7.2 as meaning that the invention involves an inventive step when compared with the prior art base, or in our case the prior art, unless the invention would have been obvious to a person skilled in the relevant art, in light of the common general knowledge as existed in the patent area. Now, this test is essentially called the obviousness test. You will sometimes see it referred to as non-obviousness, but it really is asking, is the invention obvious to a person skilled in the relevant art? To put this in context, is the drug that Bionomics developed obvious to a person who knows about chemistry and drugs? If you look at the long introduction which deals with the history leading up to the invention, you can see that what was occurring prior to this was a different form of drug. And the fact that this has occurred is completely different and inventive compared to what was already known, because this Bionomics drug overcomes difficulties that have been experienced since the 1970s, when the original forms of antidepressants were developed. So, let's look at this a little bit further. The inventive step, is it inventive? I don't propose to go through the information in more detail. You can read this slide. It's similar to what happens with novelty. You can look at a single piece in the prior art, or you can combine two pieces so long as it's logical to combine those two pieces of information. Now, as similar to what we've seen with novelty, this is information in a document that's publicly available, whether inside or outside the patent area of Australia, and this requirement that it be in a document or in a patent is the absolute inventive requirement. So you're going to again have to do international searches to verify that your patent is patentable. Now, the inventive step is assessed again by examining the individual claims in your patent against the prior art base. The new form of patent that we looked at with Bionomics in the workshop is really good in this sense, because it shows in the long introduction before the claims, being the first 69 pages, it shows what the prior art is all about, and it shows why there is an inventive step in this invention, because it shows that the research was in a different area and it had identified 3 separate uses for the previous known drug formats, and it also identifies why this is the improvement. It says that it doesn't create the sedative effects that other drugs in the older regimes do. So, lack of an inventive step is a ground to refuse registration. So let's look at the obviousness test. So, obviousness. Would a non-inventive skilled person regard the invention as obvious or not? We have a number of ways of looking at the issue of inventive step. There is no one sole formulation of what an inventive step is. We have a number, and we're going to list some on the next few slides. The applications of the test, whether the invention provides a solution to an existing problem, that's one. Whether the solution has been waited for years, it is a commercial success. And the case of Minnesota Mines and Manufacturing, in this case, relates to breathable surgical tape, where they were able to show that the research for 10 years was going in one direction, and the solution came from a completely unrelated area to where the research had occurred. It's similar in a way to bionomics. Bionomics research has led to this great success, but they weren't necessarily just following where the research had been going and what the research had shown, as demonstrated in the introduction to that bionomics patent. Now, other ways, again, the Bernstorff case, so the solution comes from a completely different area. Use of the device in preference to the prior art. This is the case that we looked at with the casement windows, where the window frames and its use became the standard. That then shows that it's inventive, that everybody is using it. There can be a number of solutions to the problem and no special reason for choosing the particular solution. If it's surprising or unexpected, it has advantages. Now, my last version of this is the wow factor. This actually comes from the case of Amazon versus Barnes & Noble and relates to the one-click wonder that we are all used to in shopping on the internet. When the patent was originally filed in around 1991, there was a problem on the internet. The problem was deserted shopping trolleys clogging up the system, meaning that it's very slow and awkward, and people were not happy to buy things on the internet. Imagine, if you can, going to your Coles supermarket and 80% of all people who go and shop during that day in Coles desert their shopping trolleys with the goods in the aisles. You probably would not be able to shop. So, this was the problem. And what Amazon did was developed a system where you put the item that you were interested in into a shopping cart. It was put in part of the program, and when you'd finished all your browsing and shopping, you then went through a payment exercise. They had literally reduced from 6 steps to 1 step the process that was generally accepted for doing this online. It was a wow factor. I really enjoy this case, even though it is American, and that generally goes against my grain, because in this situation, the witness for Barnes and Noble to prove their case ended up proving the case for Amazon. This hardly ever happens in a court case. That's why it is a wow factor. What happened here is that the witness for Barnes and Noble had written 3 of the 6 known shopping cart programs that were in existence in the 1990s. So he was called as an expert, and in cross-examination he turned round and said, "We didn't realise it could be that simple." Inventive step does not have to be rocket science. It does not have to be complex. It just has to be a wow factor, a surprise. Why didn't we think of that? Can still be an inventive step. We will see from Alpha Farm that the description in Australia is you only need a scintilla of invention, a small amount. You don't need it to be complex, long, or whatever. The beauty with the Amazon system is it was so simple, and it got us to enjoy shopping on the internet. All the previous programs took a very legalistic approach, and you had 6 separate steps because before you could get the product into a shopping cart. And what Barnes and Noble had to do is reintroduce those 6 steps to their program because they had copied Amazon's. So the wow factor, Amazon versus Barnes and Noble. Now, examples of non-inventive. It's non-inventive, it's a mere workshop improvement. A workshop improvement, you can obtain an innovation patent, but you will not obtain a standard patent. If there is a single solution to the problem, this is the lawyer's description of what would not be inventive. Lawyers agree that it would be impossible to even give an example of this because they hardly or never actually exist in real life. The last time is if it's an obvious combination of features. So, avoid those for inventive step. That's where the last issue is with inventive step. The Alpha Farm case, which gave us our scintilla of invention, also says the step needed to always, you need to be cautious because of the glare of hindsight. When you think that Barnes and Noble had introduced and were using this and the case is being fought in the mid-90s, relating to a patent from 1991, it has to be assessed at what was known in 1991 at the date that the patent was filed, not what is known in 1999 when the patent is being litigated. Now, the final 2 elements are quickly dealt with in one slide. Useful. As I said, it means the invention must do what the inventor says it will do. For example, Panadol stops a headache. If it doesn't do that, then it's not useful. Similar with our bionomics patent, if it does not reduce anxiety in patients, it's not useful. Again, as I described, secret use is use prior to the priority date or the date of filing, which is the priority date, and it will invalidate the patent because it is a form of anticipation. Ree Wheatley's patent is a golden oldie from the 60s, but it is still very true. This related to a new mining technology, and what occurred is the Wheatley disclosed it under confidentiality to the Minister of Mines. The Minister of Mines went, "Yeehaw, we would like 10. They ordered 10. Wheatley provided 10 to the Ministry of Mines and sold them to the Ministry of Mines, and then applied for the patent in their invention. The secret use by handing over the property in 10 of the mining devices invalidated their patent because the duty of confidence would not protect this. So, research and development is protected, but giving or selling your patented product to someone before the priority date is secret use, and it will invalidate, and it is not protected by a duty of confidence. Now, that is where our patent requirements actually end. Thank you. Here briefly we'll discuss the rights given to the patent owner. Under Section 13, the owner has the right to exploit the invention, which is to import, sell, hire, manufacture, or dispose of the invention. It is a property right, and as a property right, Section 14 highlights that patents can be assigned to another person, but this must be in writing, signed by the assignor and or with the assignee. The person assigning is vital that they sign. The assignee does not necessarily have to sign to accept the assignment, but it is vital. Patents cannot be assigned without a written document signed by the person who owns the patent. Now, we will leave the topic of patents there at the moment. Thank you.